Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Hey guys, today I'm interviewing my cat about his perfect bistro food. Percy, you seem to be a big Perfect Bistro fan. Care to comment? Totally. What do you like about it? You love the high-quality ingredients? And the delicious flavors, of course. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Listen to Percy, guys. Visit perfectbistro.com to try it for your cat.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name's Hayden.
And this is the first episode after episode 200, so it's 201. And we're going to be going over just a bit of quick maths there. We're going to be reacting to not only the interview, getting you all the information from behind the scenes about how it came about, what happened, but also the reaction to it as well from all of you as listeners. If you're coming back, having listened to that for the first time, welcome to the crew. And if you're a recurring listener, as always, we're very interested in what you've had to say. We'll think about our reactions, our thoughts, and we'll even finish off with what we might have done differently.
Oh, I like that. Reflective.
Yes, what's the word? Yeah, like it feels like I'm in a post-lesson observation.
And if you've listened to our podcast long enough, you know we'll probably forget that Dylan said that by the end and not do it anyway. So do stick around to maybe hear it.
We're so professional. But first thing, Hayden, I wanted to ask you, obviously, like, we're recording this, it's been like 3 days since release. What's the thing that surprised you the most?
Honestly, how positive the reaction has been. And not that
surprised
not
you.
that I wasn't expecting positivity, but it is the internet, it is social media. They have just done the Gemma Collins thing, which I feel like people were getting really angry about and really annoyed about. So that off the back of that, I was like, oh man, like it's the internet. I'm going to say that again. People are going to pick holes in everything, and that's just how it is. And I was expecting a lot more, I don't know, people just being annoyed about stuff that would have riled me up. But actually, it's been like ridiculously positive and a nice experience.
Yeah, like unanimously insane. Like the odd comment, obviously, we'll come on to it later on. But I remember, obviously, this had been arranged for quite a while, and I wasn't remotely nervous at all until I saw them start to release the Gemma Collins stuff, and I saw the reaction, and I thought to myself, oh my God, like, I remember mentioning it to someone who we tutor with, and they basically said to me, it's like, you can't compare your background and the things you're going to do with what they were talking about with the GC and the reasons why people are annoyed at that. And I was like, I completely understand the logic behind this. However, I have dealt with the internet and social media for about 3 years now, and I don't think logic matters sometimes.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say there. People are riled up anyway, so that might just like transpose onto us. But I don't think it did. So that to me was really nice and like vindicating in terms of the mission that we had in terms of going there to. At the end of the day, like we only had 45 minutes really in total.
Maximum.
And out of that, we got sort of like 30, 35 minutes of actual clips we could put into the podcast. But you know, I expected a lot more people saying, well, you didn't ask this question, you didn't ask that question. I know you prefaced...
We've got a few.
I know, but not as many as I thought.
No.
And I know you did preface the last podcast like by saying, look, we obviously couldn't ask everything, but I still expected loads of people from loads of different like hubs online to be like, why didn't you ask about this specific thing? This is the most important thing in the world. But honestly, I think people were just quite understanding, and they were like, cool, yeah, you gave it a fair crack, and they were good questions, and they were fair. I think that was the nice thing. The nicest feedback I read was, it was fair. Like you were clearly trying to hold her to account, because at the end of the day, Bridget Phillipson is obviously accountable at the highest level, and it's not about whether we think that's right or wrong, or whether we think, oh, we got super polite. I think we were polite.
Yes,
and I think those people should be held to account in general. No, like a journalist in any other field wouldn't think twice about it, because that's just the role. Like the people deserve to hear the best version of the truth, and I think that's what we tried our hardest to do. And I feel quite pleased that people saw that.
Yeah, I think we did. So someone said that'll be the last time you're invited to the dinner, did they? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it'd be really interesting. But
why do you think they thought that though? Like,
I think because there was a lot of people. Again, look, I looked at the reaction to this, and a lot of people, no matter what had happened, right? There's a group of people, no matter what had happened, who would be annoyed, because no matter what Bridget Phillipson or the education secretary says, they are already just going to be pissed off.
At her.
At her personally. And there might be really good reason for that. I'm not saying they shouldn't be. Whatever the reason is behind it, it doesn't matter. They'll see a chat with her and just go, it's stupid, it's pointless.
Right. Yeah,
there's also a group of people who listened to the podcast, had a proper listen to our answers, and thought the answers still weren't suitable and still were skirting around it. And that was quite a common bit of feedback we had from it. But there were more people than I thought in a third category, which people were saying, "Oh, I think she came across quite well, actually. I think she's you've managed to make her look, more human, or she's actually seemed to have listened to your answers, etc." And what I found weird, and we'll talk about later on as well, some other feedback is a lot of the feedback really contradicted each other because there'll be one comment that literally says, she just couldn't care less, look at her, she's not even listening to you. And then the next comment would be like, fair enough, seems like she was actually listening, and you can't expect her to give promises or announce things on a podcast episode, obviously, so for what you could have done, actually I think she's done quite well.
I mean, it just shows the subjectiveness of it, doesn't it, really, the fact that people can comment complete opposite things. But so what's your reaction to those people? Like, obviously you've been dealing with the online stuff. Have you had much conversation with either side of these kind of people, like people that are saying, she clearly doesn't care at all? Like, have you just gone,
no, I've left it. I've left it because at the end of the day, ultimately, like with everything we did with this whole podcast setup and this whole reason why we were talking to her in the first place, it was about, I felt like we were a vessel. I felt like our job was to be a vessel for people in education, ask questions that a lot of people would have been happy with, and then see what the answers were and let people digest that. So like, I see, it's not worth me sat in the comments going, well, actually, I think this, actually, I think that. I did all that in the podcast episode and I'm doing it now in this one. So I'm sure we'll talk about what we personally think about it in general. But I don't think it was my place on social media to get into a tit for tat where someone's saying one thing, someone's saying another thing. Do you know what it is? What it is? We asked those questions. She gave those answers. There you go, guys. There you go, education people. I hope that's more useful to you than what you've seen maybe previously.
100%. And you're right, because it's just people are entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, of course.
Who are we then to sit there and tell everyone's opinions, that like whether they're right or wrong, or we disagree?
We've already done it for 199 episodes.
I was say, just go,
who are we? Who are we to do what we've done every week for 2 years?
Exactly. We don't need to type it on there. Just go listen to 200 to 300 hours worth of podcast stuff. So I do want to ask you one thing, right? Because there was, we did get a message earlier on. I've got a couple of messages, I think, of people saying, are we being hypocrites? Are we hypocritical? Do you remember? Some people were like,
it was before the episode came out.
Yeah. So, and no one was being horrible, no one was vicious, but some people were like, didn't you do an episode where you were like kind of calling out the fact that that the government, the DfE, are kind of like clearly leveraging social media to try and get in front of more people and sort of get their message through by being pally with social media influencers, and how it's all about And
do you just sideways? Do you think we were pally? Like, I don't think many people would say that. If you think that, then what I'm hoping is at least when you saw it, you were like, oh, okay, there were no softballs here. Do you know what I mean?
I think so as well.
But just to clarify as well, because I spoke to a few people, a couple of people actually beforehand who mentioned that. And I just said to them, no. Like, I think people got the wrong idea, essentially. And the great thing was, where we do a podcast with 200 episodes, I could just bring the receipts and be like, look, this is the episode, we spoke about it. I can't remember exactly what number it is, but if you scroll back, you'll see something in the title about government and influencers, etc. And it was like a good 15-minute chat. And just to reiterate now what we were saying, that I've got never have either of us ever had an issue with people going to talk to the government.
No.
And we even said in that episode, would I go to number 10 Downing Street tomorrow if we were asked? And we both were like, yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
Wasn't number 10. Department for Education will do, I suppose. But the point was, it was more about just, you must make sure that when this happens, you really try and hold on to what integrity you can. And again, I was not pointing fingers and saying other people hadn't done this.
Of course.
But my point was, it would be very easy to see a shiny email or a nice, like a letter from the government saying, hi, we're the government, come and talk to us. And then the government take advantage, because at the end of the day, the government are after one thing, and that's to get their message across, right?
Exactly.
In a positive spin.
And we made that meta point, exactly that. We made the point of, that's obviously what they're doing. They're not talking. They don't, all of the influence online, including us, we don't happen to be the most professional expert people at that particular field. But we're not. We've said it before. We've said it last time. We've got a bit of humility. You know what I mean? Like, there's
thousands of educators.
There are thousands of people.
Yeah.
We asked a lot of questions in each of those different fields that you could have got in that would be like significantly more expert, and they've devoted their lives to it, and they could talk about it to an unbelievable degree, right?
Yep.
So we know, and we pointed it out then, that they're only getting people on to talk to them because they've got a social media following.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, that is part of the game. And I think sometimes people get annoyed at that as if, like, that is, like, the worst thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the worst thing you can ever do. I think it's just, you just have to be transparent about it. Yeah, we get these people on. I think she was, to be fair. She even said with Gemma Collins, she was like, I got Gemma Collins on because she's got a huge reach to an audience that I want to talk to.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of it. They're not even like, wasn't even trying to hide it.
No,
It's like,
it's not a secret thing,
no,
is it?
that's just how the game works.
Clearly what they're trying to do.
Know, so when we went on, again, like you said, like it's just about, we didn't go in there thinking, wow, they want to speak to us because clearly we are the best.
No.
Like, we know more than everybody.
No.
It's like, no, they want to speak to us because we have a huge following and people listen to us. So we'll go in and we'll try to represent our following as best as we possibly can. That was the game that we were playing.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come step into centuries of history that await in Scotland. Castles steeped in legend walk along cobblestone streets. Come share the warmth of stories passed down through generations. This is a place with a past that is fully present today and all yours to explore. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
And that's what I meant earlier when I was saying about us being like a vessel.
Exactly.
That's how it felt like it was. I was like, I felt like that, almost that, not burden, such a ridiculous word because it's a privilege as well to be invited along.
Yeah.
But it very much, I think that's where I started to feel a bit more pressure, especially after the GC stuff, was we really need to hit the nail on the head here so that people really feel like they've been listened to. And at the very least had their questions and concerns raised.
Yeah.
And one thing I really, really appreciated that was really consistent across was people saying like those questions were not only really well put, like the way we put it together and said it, but also that it was a bunch of questions that you just couldn't have asked if you didn't have real experience in the classroom and have lived it as a teacher, as a teaching assistant, or as a leader in the school. And I was really, really, really happy that came across because we spent a lot of time putting these questions together based on our experience and based on the experience of thousands of other teachers we speak to say, do you know what? This is what the person who's never worked a day in school in their life, who is in charge of education, needs to hear. And again, there's a million reasons why that happens. I can see why people always say, if you're in charge of education, you should have probably have some experience working in a school. I get that. But at the end of the day, she doesn't have that. So I felt like it was our job to try and put it across as best as we can as to what's going on right now.
Which is why it's probably a nice middle ground between, and someone actually complimented us. Now I feel a bit cringe about saying this, but I'm going to say it.
Go on.
Someone complimented us and said that they think we did a better job as a journalist than it would have been a journalist who's never been in a school.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to make that exact point of, yes, we're not journalists by trade, but the questions we are now.
I am now.
The questions we asked just had that extra element of like, we know what we're talking about because we've been in the schools. So putting them together in the way we did, basically everything you just said, which is pretty cool. So I feel like right now, because we've really just been quite quiet about this, probably because we knew we were going to do this episode, can you just run through the timeline a little bit more? Like how this even came about, when this came about? Because I think you put a thing on Instagram ages ago being like, oh, when you've been planning this for 2 months and the Gemma Collins things drops the day before you record. And for a lot of people, they would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean 2 months? Like, you've not mentioned this.
No, it'd be interesting for people to hear as well. Like, especially there'll be other creators who've done some kind of collaboration. It'd be interesting to hear what they have to say. But also, I just think, it's my point of view that if the government are arranging something, there's no issue with just being as transparent as possible. This is exactly what happened.
Of course.
The DFE reached out to us. They emailed us, and it was directly off the back of a reel that I put out, which was stitched to. I don't know if you remember, a couple of months ago, Bridget Phillipson did a series of videos online where she was sent a question by a bunch of experts, like genuine experts. Like I know the SEN expert who's on social media, Mr. G, who does a lot of ADHD. They all sent their separate questions in, and they did a video for each question. And there was one question, and the question was specifically about the legal rights of the child when we're moving from EHCP to maybe more ISPs and what would change, right?
Yeah.
And we put that question in there, and that was in part because this is how it all originated. And my point was when Bridget listened to the question and then spoke afterwards, it was my opinion that she didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
She because the answer to the question is not a good thing to hear, which is, yeah, an ISP does have fewer legal rights for the child and the family than in the HCP. That's a fact. Okay?
But in the reel that you were making, she didn't say that, did she? She basically said, there's legal rights to enforce it in the first place. I think to make the document, right?
Yeah, there's a legal requirement that the ISP exists.
Right.
But the question was so clearly about if the plan is not being met.
Yeah.
What are the legal rights of the family or the child to go about that, right?
Yeah.
And under the current EHCP model, there's the tribunal. Tribunals seem like they're being watered down anyway, even for EHCP, but even more so if your child now doesn't necessarily meet the criteria for EHCP, which they're trying to raise, so only the most complex needs have it. It does mean you miss it completely. You don't have the tribunal anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what parents want to be really clear on, because at the end of the day, it's their children who live through that.
Yeah.
And my point in the video was basically just saying, like, I just get so frustrated when you, as someone in the industry, you know the answer to the question.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that there's people out there who want clarification, and then the person in charge making these changes isn't extremely clear about what's happening.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, I think the need for truth overrides what the political machine looks like to make it look like a better.
Definitely.
So that's what frustrated me. And that's what the video was. And this is why when they reached out on the back of that video in particular, and they said, I note your frustration, I get it. Do you want to come and ask your own questions? Like, of course, like, yes, like, absolutely. Because what kind of person would I be to sit there, do a little real moan, you're not even answering the questions, and they give the opportunity to do it? I was like, yeah, I'll
we back
both
down.
hands. Yeah.
No, I don't want to actually talk to her. I just want to do reels behind my keyboard.
Yeah, no, I want to do that. I want to go and sit there and ask those questions again. And that's why I took that literal question.
Yeah.
And we asked her directly that, and then we asked her again, and then we asked her again.
Yeah.
Like,
that was one of our reflections, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, did we go too hard? Not too hard, but did we go too long? Trying to get that. And I think, I know you're telling the story of like how we got there, but I'm just going to divert for a second, because just a bit of reflection on the actual interview. People, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on whether you think this is right or wrong, were, after watching that interview, saying she still didn't really answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
To an extent. Yeah. Yeah. And when it's in like individual questions, like, yeah, there's a reason we kept asking it, because what our aim was just to get her to say, please just be really clear. We didn't think it was actually going to happen. Let's be really honest with everyone. But we wanted it to get to the point of, or I did anyway, of at least a bit of awkwardness where we then explain, so this is the situation, right? And then just hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
I don't think that she answered that question particularly clearly. I do think there were, I did feel that she was really listening to the questions. I genuinely did feel that in the moment. I did honestly feel like she was actually taking in what we were saying, because we made the choice as well to be really detailed in our questions, not just ask something that can be battered off, but give lots of context. And I do think her answers did kind of show that she was listening to that context a little bit. But I understand why people are saying didn't really answer the question, because ultimately, did she just say, yeah, ISP is going to have fewer rights? No, she didn't.
No.
And we all know the answer to that question.
Exactly,
And still didn't say it. And I know all the reasons why, but, it's slightly frustrating.
This episode is brought to you by MathZoo.
Here's something most teachers already know, but rarely say out loud. Too many children are going through primary school without solid arithmetic foundations. They can't recall key facts fluently, they're shaky on the basics, and when that trickier problem solving is introduced later on, they struggle. Not because the math itself is too hard, but because the foundations they're built on aren't strong enough.
And with a new curriculum on the horizon that really puts a focus on fluency across Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2, this is only going to matter more.
The platform identifies the children's gaps instantly, figures out exactly what they need to revisit, and keeps practicing with them. As a teacher, you'll get a live gap analysis anytime the children are completing a task, so you can see exactly how they're getting on.
And in whiteboard mode, you can generate and model unlimited versions of any question type. 4 digits plus 3 digits with exchanging, adding 2 fractions with different denominators where they go past a whole. Anything you need instantly for your whole class.
It all comes together in a 3-pronged approach. Weekly tests to benchmark progress, daily practice to target gaps, and bespoke free play that identifies exactly what each child needs to revisit and practice.
Find out more at mathzoo.org or by clicking the link in the description below to turbocharge your school's arithmetic now. But that's the thing, isn't it? Maybe we're wrong, but our perspective is, as a politician these days, you're going to build more trust if you just are just real. And I understand from politicians' perspective, because it's been like this for my whole life, which is we can't ever say anything that looks remotely negative or seems like it's worse than it currently is.
Or say sorry for things.
Anything, yeah.
Anything that gives an inch.
Yeah.
They're trained to not give
100%,
because there'll be outlets or people who take a mile then.
Yeah.
And when it's something as emotional and as tied to, struggles for families as SEND, it's my opinion that you have to be extremely clear.
I think so as well,
and extremely to the point as to exactly what will happen. And if that means you've taken a hit politically, well, you've made that change.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So yes, like if the things you've chosen to change mean you get a hit politically, yeah, like of course, I've got nothing. There's nothing more to add, really.
Bat it down the road for when it actually comes in place, and everyone actually, this is the reality now, and everyone realizes. But it's just, I find it so weird though, because even like saying outlets will jump on it if you give them an inch. They were jumping on it anyway because they could see through it. And I'm like, I just had to go on BBC for 2 seconds or anything on social media. Literally any article that was basically saying
reels that we do.
SEND children are being stripped of their rights with this news. Like, people were jumping on it anyway because they can see through it. And I just really feel like, and it aggravates me, and again, it might be me being naive, but I feel like politicians are missing such a trick of just being honest. Just be deadly honest. Yeah, do you know what? We've got this bigger plan in mind. I'm going to talk about it for 20 minutes and really explain it. But this one con that you think, it is true. Okay, that one thing that I didn't answer last time about ISPs being, legally backed, legally enforced throughout the system, like EHCPs are, that is true. That's not how it works. And then talk about, your greater vision and plan, because people are going to see through it anyway. I just find it weird.
And if only it was one thing that wasn't answered. But yeah, anyway, they reached out. We said yes. We were back and forth arranging. We jumped on a call with someone from the DFE. And when we were discussing what we would do, the idea was we'd go up to the DFE and we'd have like an interview basically, and we'd be able to bring our questions. And very, very, very clearly from the start, you and I had a conversation before we spoke to anyone, and we said, unless we get nothing edited out in terms of actual content to make anyone look like they're answering a question differently, and they didn't do that, by the way. No. You've listened to the episode. You can hear stutterings and pauses and stuff that seem awkward that they could have cut out and they didn't.
Yeah.
So we were very clear about that. We were like, and the other thing we were really clear about, and I think this was really, really important, was that we didn't give the questions that we were going to ask.
Yeah.
What we did do, for fairness sake, and it's good our listeners hear this, we just gave very generic topics of things we wanted to cover.
Which in retrospect is kind of funny, because we gave them the topics at the point where we had like 14 questions.
I know, yeah.
So we basically gave them every topic ever that you could talk about in education.
Yeah.
And then we just chose the 4 we had time for.
They were very vague as well, though. One of them was curriculum.
That's what I mean.
And the other one was SEND.
Yeah.
So but what it meant was, we could go there knowing that with the detail that we knew we were going to put into these questions and be really specific about, there was no way they could have had some kind of pre-prepared answer for that. And I do think listening to it and through a lot of the feedback we've had, it was quite clear that there were points where it was obvious they didn't have a pre-prepared answer for it, because maybe it was a bit stuttery, a bit obfuscate. I can't never get that word right. Obfuscate. I don't know what.
Use a synonym.
Yeah. I don't know what synonym is. But you're not getting to the point basically, and just filibustering a little bit.
Yeah.
But I felt like our job was to go there with those real questions and not let them know what those questions were, and therefore be like, oh, I get it, I understand it, and here's 7 things I pre-prepared. It felt more like a conversation because of that.
I think so as well. And I think when you get over the top line, which no one's ever going to get through, because if journalists aren't doing it, like, we're not going to suddenly go there and do it, right?
No.
They're not getting through the line of, politicians have these set rules clearly in place of like what they will and what they won't say, and you will just not break that boundary.
No.
When you accept that, and there were some things that she, like with the ISP stuff, she just was we could sit there for 3 hours.
We had to move on.
It was never going to happen. She was never going to say the exact soundbite that we wanted, which was, yes, you're right, guys, that is true. It's not going to happen. When you got past that, I agree that to give Bridget credit, I really do feel like she was listening to the questions.
Yeah.
And answering pretty well. And I think.
Do you think she's answering well?
In some cases.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what I mean. Like, I think there were some parts of questions. I listened back to it 3 times.
Yeah.
And the first 2 times I listened to it, I genuinely thought to myself, we haven't, we just didn't break through. I was like, we just got the same politician kind of scripted answers. The politicians are just very good at thinking on the spot, which script shall I use? That's really what I thought.
Yeah.
And then when I listened the 3rd time, I don't know what it was, but I was just really properly listening perhaps this time. I was like, do you know what? There were lots of opportunities where she could have easily avoided talking about a particular topic and didn't, and at least gave it some sort of answer, like something. And I thought, okay, maybe we made a bit of ground there. I don't know.
I think it's important with Fair, to be honest. I think in general, there was that frustrated. I wasn't that frustrated because I knew we weren't going to get to that point where she was just saying, yeah, you're right, that is shit. Like, I knew that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So maybe frustrated. I wasn't feeling frustrated because I knew already what the boundaries were going to be. But I can honestly as well think of a few points in our conversation where she was like answering, giving specifics and kind of holding up her point a bit more. And I liked that. Like, argue against us. Like, tell us why you're doing something a certain way.
Of course.
One of them was about, we talked about the falling role and the birth rates and the fact that where funding's per pupil, when schools have a falling role, their budget is immediately squeezed. And we talked about how, she mentioned it's unpredictable. And our point was, well, yeah, but it's not unpredictable in that I can predict that we'll get thousands and thousands of pounds less now, and schools will have to close or shrink, and people will lose their job because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But at least then she came back and was saying, no, I do think it's right that it's linked to per pupil because of this, because of that, because of that. That's what I wanted to have a lot more of. Was her saying, and I think she did do that at a point. I'm giving her credit here. Other points I don't think that happened at all. But to give the credit where it's due, there were some points where I was thinking to myself, cool. Now what can happen is we've put our point across, you've put your point across, the listeners get to hear that.
Yeah, it's one step further
down
the line of thinking.
I quite liked that.
Yeah.
Because I still necessarily don't agree, because I think class sizes do need to shrink, and I do think that the per pupil funding model has lots of pros that she mentioned.
Yeah.
But in the specific example of this thing that's happening now with the birth rate dropping and schools closing, and the hope that it picks up again after, what we're going to pick up again and what just hire? You can have your job back after 2 years because the dip's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't agree.
Yeah,
I don't agree with her, but at least that felt like, oh, okay, you think that.
There's
I
some
think
reasoning
that.
behind it that I didn't know before this conversation.
Maybe.
Basically, yeah,
Exactly,
definitely.
exactly.
I struggled with that one a little bit, to be fair. Even though I agree that she gave more context behind her own thoughts, but I don't know. There's just something about hearing someone so passionate about SEND reform literally being handed on a golden plate the only time that happened in the last couple of decades, where we have a natural birth rate falling and have the ultimate opportunity to reduce class sizes to make way for all this inclusion, because we know inclusion at the level of class sizes right now literally doesn't work. We know that, she knows that. No one's under any illusions that it doesn't work or not. Why wouldn't you take the opportunity? It just feels really, I couldn't get my head around that.
Disingenuous, I think.
Yeah, I was like, either you don't really believe in these SEND reforms, which I don't think is true necessarily.
Yeah.
But you could easily argue, well, you don't really think, you don't really believe in these SEND reforms, do you? Because you've got the perfect opportunity to reduce class sizes that no one else has ever had before.
Well,
then you're not doing it.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
If it sounds like a duck and it walks like a duck, maybe it's a duck. Do you know what I mean? Like, there comes a point where you're like, the rhetoric's fine. I know a lot of her backstory and stuff of where she's come from. She's come from, northern family, single mother, believes in social mobility, wants to help people. I don't disagree with that. Like, I'm not saying that's wrong. Like, who am I to say that about what she thinks, right? And I think that the system is really tricky to work in terms of everything costs loads of money. She's not going to get that money just because she asked for it. And she said that multiple times as well. So I get all of that. But, when we've got to make it clear, and I think we did in the chat, that the falling role will be a stealth saving of like £2 billion.
Yeah.
Like,
we worked it out,
didn't
we?
It was about £1.8 billion. It's 310,000 children fewer in the school system in the next 3 years because of the birth rate. But $5,000 to $6,000 per pupil in the state system. It's about £1.8 billion, right? That is going to be saved not as a big like announcement, we're cutting this, right? Because essentially it's like a cut, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to announce that as a big, we're making a cut. Sorry, guys, we're going to cut the rate of how many per, the funding for per child, right? Imagine they came out and said, we're cutting it by £500 per child and that's 2 billion, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
But this is like a stealth thing. They can kind of just in the background happen. Oh yeah, we'll just let that happen. Not only is it a £1.8 billion saving, when they're going around saying we're putting 4 billion into SEND, half of that you're getting back immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. And you're not even going to ring fence the ability for a school to stay open. Do you know how vital schools are to communities?
Yeah.
Like they're just that alone. And that goes then. The outreach goes completely.
I wish we'd pushed on that a bit more. That one. We just, to be completely honest with you, we just ran out of time.
Yeah, of course.
I think I absolutely would have pushed. I had some things ready to go and I was like, we just haven't got any time.
We could have sat there for 3 hours.
Exactly. Right. There's 2 things that I really wish we pushed on. One, mentioning the money thing a bit more. Like I know you mentioned there was a stealth saving, but I wish we'd said, look, we've worked it out. It's like £2 billion. And also the threshold moving up from EHCPs also saves genuinely like well over £1 billion. We worked it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money being saved from these 2 things that are just kind of going under the rug. Like, oh yeah, you're spending all this extra money. Cool. You've also just saved £3 billion by moving EHCPs up. Anyway, that, and also just like thinking a bit more real about some situations. Like when schools close in those like little communities, right? Let's say there's 2 schools. The first school that closes doesn't close because they hit 0 pupils.
Right.
They closed because they hit like 80%, 70%, 60%, and they couldn't function anymore. Where do those pupils go? Like it's not just a clean thing of like, oh yeah, it just happens sometimes. It's falling birth rate. Okay, cool. So now what? Those kids have nowhere to go.
What happens is that other school has obviously dipped a bit as well, but they join and they become oversubscribed.
Yeah,
because we're not taking this opportunity to lower the class sizes.
Yeah.
Listen to every single person in the whole country who works in education ever who believes in inclusion and wants to help kids. The number one thing that will transform the ability for inclusion to actually happen in mainstream, still not for every child, by the way. I still really believe that there are some children who need a different setting completely, but that requires money and investment, separate thing. But if we're really, 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 not just for the children in mainstream who want to be included in terms of SEND, but for just, I don't know, every kid, the number one thing we can do is lower class sizes. It is insane.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm really glad. I am really glad, and I would not change this. I agree with what you're saying. Maybe we could have gone more further, etc. But whether that's true or not, whether we did do that differently, I am very, very, very happy with how calm, precise, professional, to the point, and detailed our questioning was. Because I do think everyone who listens to this podcast will know that when we do get down a rabbit hole, like we just did, I become far more animated, far more, angry. Probably is the word. I get more worked up.
And all honesty,
that would have been a detriment.
Like, rude. It would be as in if it was too like me and you on a podcast, like talking to ourselves. It's not the same, but it would be rude to speak how we normally speak if we were just speaking to Bridget Phillipson.
But there is also like there will be people out there who think, so what?
Yeah.
Like this is just a point. This is the thing. But we always say this. We've got to be consistent. There is a point where, like we said, talking to toxic SLT who've done things constantly to you where you just take advantage of, there comes a point where you maybe do need to become a bit rude or a bit brash, or what some people might say is rude but actually isn't.
Yeah.
But good, because sometimes you need to be that way to some people, because I've always found when it's with people in power and people who aren't in power, the people in power will find it so much more easy to come across calm, collected, and why are you getting mad? Because using their power, they've enacted something which has therefore had horrible consequences on people. I always think about that, and I always go back to something. Just take, for example, whatever your political spectrum ideal is. Just ignore it for a second, but this is just my example. There's a lot of hate from Margaret Thatcher and what she did in the past, right? Because in her position of power, she did a lot of closing of the coal mines. I'm simplifying this, but this is my point.
Yeah,
she did a lot of closing of the coal mines, which she didn't have to stand up and get angry and rude to the coal miners. She didn't have to belittle them. She could have done it. She did it in a very, very polite way. Yes, we've got to do this for the country. It's really important. And they close the mines, ruining whole communities, right? From their point of view, they're not getting paid anymore. They're unemployed. Interests go through the roof. They can't afford to live anymore. And then they get angry and like, they're frothing at the mouth. I hate her. And then someone comes along and says, don't be mean. don't be rude. Yeah. What do you mean? Why are you being rude? She wasn't rude.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe she wasn't rude, but hell, like just think about what the position she's in and what she did. Maybe they're okay to be a bit rude.
The
long way of me saying this is, Bridget knows this, I think, and I've heard Bridget say a million times that politicians should be held to high standards and be asked tough questions.
100%.
Yes, because it's not rude to do that. It's needed because there's no one above her in education. There is no one above her. Like, who can I speak to your boss, please? Yeah, what, the Prime Minister? Yeah, he doesn't sit and do education reform.
Yeah.
You know, Bridget Phillipson is the top.
Yeah.
She's the top of the top. So I think there is a bit of room to be more direct and more rash and maybe what some people class as traditionally more rude.
Yeah.
However, I think for our chat and what we had for half an hour, I think we were perfectly on point.
I think so too. And I do think time and place matters. I think if it's on Instagram and you're doing a reel and it's a back and forth, I think you can pitch questions differently. I think when you're sat in a room with someone like Bridget Phillipson and her 3 advisors all sat around there, knowing that if we do it in a certain way, the whole thing gets canned.
Yeah.
You've got to play the game just a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise the outcome would have been absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So like there is like I'm not saying that means you're therefore you should just pussyfoot around people and say
we didn't.
I don't think we did, but I think we challenged in a polite enough way.
Yeah.
To show, actually, we're here ultimately to hold you accountable because that's what you agree that's what should be happening to your role. But we're also normal human beings and we're trying to represent loads of other people. So we're going to ask tough questions and we're going to follow up a little bit more if we don't feel like really we're answering that question.
Yeah.
Until we run out of time.
Exactly. That was something it just made me laugh. We touched on it earlier, like the comparisons between like there was one thing that actually happened, which was the interview, right? That's there. Everyone can listen to it. It's on Spotify. It's on the record. And there are comments that just like completely go against each other where someone said, wow, you guys did so well not letting her get away with not answering a question and following up and really pushing it. And someone else who's messaged us and commented saying, I really thought you'd push her more. You just let her do whatever she wanted. And I'm just like, you know what my brain's like?
Which one is it?
It can't be both of these things. Like one of you is wrong.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess what we have to understand is the listeners, I'll be really interested, leave us a comment down wherever you're listening to this one, what you thought about it. Because at the end of the day, do you know what? Actually, no, neither of them are actually wrong.
No, it's subjective.
It is subjective. And what you think you would do in that situation might be different to what actually you would do in that situation. So when you've not in that room with her talking, I probably was the same before I did it. I might look at that and be like, why didn't you do this, boys?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there.
Okay, let's reflect right now. Was there anything on reflection that you felt like you said some questions were answered quite well, some not so much? What comes to mind then when you think, I wish, if I could speak to her again, I'd push more on this particular thing because I don't really feel like I don't agree with her answer or I don't think the answer was good. Like anything really. Was there anything that comes to mind?
Nah, not particularly, because I think we did what we could with time constraints like we've mentioned already. I don't repeat myself too much, but I don't think I would change too much at all. I think the tone was fine. I think what we asked was okay. Just to clarify on her, like her answers were okay. I don't think they were amazing. I didn't think, oh, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. I was frustrated too, but I think in the moment you've just got to kind of put that back and say, okay, cool, I'll leave that there. That's for the people to interpret. I'm going to ask you something else. Yeah. And I do think, I will say this, I think our role, and I thought this before and it didn't change after, I think our role, be interested to hear what you think, was to ask really clear, concise, relevant questions. And if we didn't feel like there was an answer, maybe push a bit. Our role was not to ask the same thing 15 times until we get to over here. I really do feel like we fulfilled what we tried to do.
Yeah.
And it's down then for people to judge Bridget Phillipson on her answers, in my opinion.
Do you think we'll get invited back to do more in any capacity? Because I know they say this.
I think they should.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I think they should.
I think
look at the reaction.
It should be positive. I think it's a positive thing. I don't think politicians should shy away from being held accountable.
And I don't think she does, to be fair.
No, I don't think so either. And I think...
you can say she doesn't answer the question properly.
That's fine.
But I tell you now, there's no other education secretary in my time who I think would be doing that.
No.
And inviting them up to the DFE and not having submit pre-questions and just fielding that from her. I don't think that would happen previously.
No.
You can say what she did was wrong, etc. I want to give people fair dues. Like, they didn't know what we were going to ask.
Yeah, they gave us a fair whack, and all of our questions got left in. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. But I think one of the criticisms has been, and we talked about it previously on our podcast, that when they have got social media's influencers involved before, a lot of people have felt like, and not in every single case, but I have felt like in general, they were very, very much just trying to shoehorn those influencers into just saying positive things and sharing positive clips and positive rhetoric about everything. And some people online felt like there was a bit of a space there for, hang on, aren't we supposed to be like really just pushing, even if you agree with her and like her and voted for Labour or whatever, shouldn't we really still just be pushing constantly for better? Like, and who's doing that? And I felt like we tried to fill that space. And I think from the DfE's point of view, it would be good to get more of that. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it looks negative on them that they answered tricky questions and were held to account. I don't think that's a bad thing for them. Yeah.
Has anyone ever seen any government social media stuff ever? Like, it's filled with negative stuff. Like, I'm not being funny. Being on the social media team for any government department must be the worst job in the world.
So depressing.
Like just horrendous. And I do think they dropped the ball a few times on stuff they've done previously. That's a separate thing. I'm not giving them a get out of jail free card. But what I am saying is, even when you do things well, you're gonna get a lot of hate. And we've done social media, and it's not nice reading hate. It's not a nice thing to see. But you're the government. That is going to happen. You have to accept it. So yeah, I mean, I personally think, and like we said again, going back to the whole hypocrites thing, we're not hypocrites at all. Because literally listening to the episode and we were bigging up our mates. We got literal friends who've gone and done this stuff. Yeah. So I don't want anyone to think we're saying, ha, and then we came along and we rode in with the white stallion and we asked those questions. Our friends have gone and asked them questions and they've gone around, beaten around the bush and answered them properly.
Yeah.
What we had, because we're a podcast, sorry everyone who doesn't have people seem to resent the fact as well sometimes that, you're just a TikToker podcaster. Of course they're going to just talk to you. Well, yeah, there's only one reason you've seen them talk to us, because we have a podcast. I'm just saying, like, she does, Bridget does do multiple school visits every single week and go and speak to people who are in education face to face all of the time. But obviously, and it's normal, you won't see that.
Yeah, of course
doesn't mean it's not happening. But then when you're like, so there'll be other people who just see, like, maybe like, because they're on TikTok scrolling. Oh, I'm on TikTok scrolling and all I see are these TikTokers. Yeah, you're on TikTok. Like, of course that's what you're going to see.
Yeah, you're not going to see the ones that aren't on TikTok getting spoken to.
And I don't know about you. Did it get to me? It must have got
clearly,
but I'm talking about
it. Clearly, you're riled up now.
But what I'm about to say, it was someone basically left a comment along the lines of, they're just talking to TikTokers again.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't reduce our 20 plus joint years experience in education doing 2 to 3 hours of podcasting a week, talking about every single thing that's going on in education at that moment, speaking to thousands of teachers. You can't reduce that to, because it's on social media, we're just TikTokers.
Yeah.
Like, come on, I've got to fight our corner a little bit. We're quite self-deprecating most of the time and take the piss out of each other. But come on, we know what we're talking about. The vast majority of people were saying that to us. But when someone just goes, TikTokers talking, what should I just, what are you on about? Like, should I just call you a shopper because you go to Tesco every week? Oh, they just got a shopper on here. Yeah, what? It's a geography expert, right? It's a geography expert talking about the Suez Canal, right?
Yeah.
Got another bloody Tesco shopper on here, have they? That's not what they do that as well. We post on TikTok, yes. Well, not TikTok. It's not a thing, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like it frustrated me because it's a joke. We joke about it all the time. Say like the word influencer,
cringe,
influencer, cringe. But to just dismiss it straight away as like, just online education influencers, like, we've lived and breathed this.
I don't think it should rile you up at all, because ultimately, going back to what we said at the start, almost unanimously really positive, and very, 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 very few people saying that sort of stuff. And I expected more, purely because of what you said. Like, there are people that just hate on stuff anyway for the sake of it, and we got less than that.
We got genuinely thousands of comments, thousands of comments. The interaction's wild, and I shared some with you. The thing that really stuck with me was how many people, this is insane by the way, messaged us to say they got emotional.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
From us aunts. And we had, this was really nice, I got to say, because we're in a female dominated profession. And I do get it. We're two blokes. And a lot of the people you see online who are predominant are male as well. I get it. I understand everything people are thinking about that. But part of that is always, we want to represent the profession, and that means representing women.
Yeah.
And there were multiple people who messaged us and said, thanks for basically speaking up for women and representing women.
Maternity particularly.
And that made me feel really good because, that we were trying to do that. And we clearly did. And people saying, asking a question about the comparison of full maternity pay from teachers to civil service, asking about paternity in general, like raising children and the struggles. People got emotional and were grateful simply that we sat in the room and said that face to face to the education secretary. And that's why I land where I land, where I think we did our job.
You may think you know McDonald's drinks, but you don't know them like this. From fruity refreshers like the strawberry watermelon refresher and the mango pineapple refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry flavored Sprite topped with cold foam. Who knew ice cold drinks could be so fire? 6 all-new drinks are here. Try them all, now at McDonald's. Refreshers contain caffeine.
This episode is brought to you by Truly Hard Seltzer. We're always in touch, but nothing beats actually being together. This summer, grab a Truly Hard Seltzer. Light, bubbly, fruity, and make your dreams come truly. Truly is the official hard seltzer of U.S. Soccer. Visit trulyhardseltzer.com/locations to find Truly near you. Hard Seltzer Beverage Company, LLC. Boston, Massachusetts. Hard Seltzer. 5% alcohol by volume. Please drink responsibly. 21 plus only.
Definitely. It was good to hear as well that...
You like people being upset?
No, not that. Do you know what, actually... you had a critique after to me, and I wonder if you still stand by it, which was that when it came to that maternity chat, I kind of made the point of when she said, well, this is just the first step, and obviously I want more than 8 weeks. It's just that it's ridiculously expensive, basically, and I can't just do that in one go. I said, that's all people want to hear. That's what people want to hear.
I stand by it.
And yeah, that's fair enough.
My critique, not what you said.
Yeah, no, your critique, yeah. But then you had a good point, and you said, if you had all the time in the world, you maybe would have pushed a bit harder on the whole maternity thing. So I just want to I know we're kind of going back to this, and we can finish
no, that's fine.
But I do actually want to hear your opinions, because I specifically said to you, let's save it for the pod and talk about it, and we haven't spoken about it. So
go on,
so basically you felt like that you said to me that the answer of, well, yeah, obviously I do want more, but I just can't do it right now. You said that that's not really an acceptable answer. That's not enough.
No,
what do you mean by that?
I don't think that's acceptable in terms of it's not enough just to say, I want this, but I can't end. Because we see what the machine can make happen itself.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, the civil service do get 26 weeks full pay. Okay. And my point was more about you saying that's what people want to hear. It's not what people want to hear. People don't want to hear that, because I don't want to hear that, because to me it's just like, hands are tied. Oh, whoopsie. No, it's a choice. And I've said this a million times. It's a political choice. You could turn around and make teaching 26 weeks full pay right now for maternity. You could turn around and make teaching a job where the wage is actually fighting against other top professions to attract the most intelligent young people possible into this career, to get the best outcomes for our children as an investment in the country in the long term, right? That is a political choice to not do any of those things. So when it's like, I'd like this, but you've got to remember, in my opinion, Bridget Phillipson's also talking for the whole Labour Party as well at that point, in saying they're choosing not to do that. They're choosing not to do that.
Yeah.
It's not, I wish we could, but we can't. What do you mean we can't? Who's telling you we can't? Rachel Reeves, the Labour Party member who runs the country alongside you.
Of course, I see what you mean.
So
right.
to say, but the same breath would never, go about and criticize her.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a team, live by the sword, die by the sword. You as a party are making a political choice to not do that. And there is a 2-tier system of maternity for children in the next generation. And just to round off my point, and hopefully I'm answering your question here, to me, this is on a pedestal as something that's really important. The next generation raising children when we're in a birth rate crisis, a cost of living crisis, and we need people to have babies. This is a non-negotiable, top of the list. Sorry, it's not good enough. You want to do something and you can't. That's like, I can't think of an example right now, but it's like, maybe we should lower fuel duty because petrol prices are high. I think that's very important. I think that's very important. But you could maybe, in my opinion, of the kind of bands here, that's like an A band thing. Yeah, that's on a lot of people's minds. That's really important. But maybe you could say, oh, we can only do this because of that affordability. It's S tier maternity.
Yeah.
To me, it's not that's something that I think's in a band where it's a choice. There's no, hands, I'd love to do it. hands are tied though. If your hands are tied on that, your hands are tied on everything.
Yeah.
Because it's top to me. So that's why I get annoyed.
And again, no, it's a good answer. And again, we were never going to get her to say that.
No, of course.
She was never going to turn around and say, oh, the reason I can't, even if she truly believes it, which I reckon she does, by the way. I reckon she truly would want more for more maternity for women. Even if she truly believes that, she was never going to turn around and say, but Rachel Reeves, who's in charge of the finances, has said that I can't do that. She's obviously not going to say that, but we all know that's what that means. Because like you said, they're in control. Like they're in control of the entire finances. Of course, they could, if they wanted to, they could make that choice and make cuts elsewhere.
We've got no money. Invent a tax. there's enough tax. Do you know what I mean? People don't like to hear it as well. Like, I'm not getting political or anything right now, but I'm just saying it is a choice though. Yeah. And their choice is they don't want to raise tax and anything to fund it because they feel like that would be politically shooting themselves in the foot.
Be a net loss.
That's what a net loss for them.
For them
personally.
Yeah, a net loss in voters.
In their political ideology, which is why it's a choice.
Yeah.
Because they're choosing their own self-serving actions of saying, I want to stay in power because I think, even if they think in the long run they want to stay in power because they're going to have more of a positive effect overall in the long run, even if they think that, they're still making that choice. Which is, sorry, we can't put maternity pay up right now because if we did put taxes up right now, then we would really lose a lot in the polls and we'd lose.
Yeah. But they're never going to say that. And they can't say that. Right. You know, so I get it. Like, I do understand. So I understand the predicament.
Yeah.
So just to clarify my point as well, because I reckon other people might have interpreted what I was saying as how you've interpreted it, because that is basically what I literally said. But what I meant.
Other people might interpret what I said as exactly what I said.
Yeah, not was the way they might not have understood the nuance that was in my head when I was trying to say it. What I was trying to say was people would rather hear you say, I would like to increase it more, and this is the first step, rather than we've solved retention for women.
Do you think she was ever saying that?
I feel like that is very much what's coming across before, which is we have done the best thing ever. That's what I said in the podcast. We've done the best thing ever. We've solved it now. We've increased maternity pay to 8 weeks because so many women were leaving when they're coming back, and now they don't need to leave because we've done this. That's how it felt. And I do feel like that's how political parties run. Everything they do is the best solution ever to exist. They never say, oh, we've done a bit of a change. It'll make a small difference, but we might do more in the future. They're obviously not. That wasn't their campaign. So I just wanted to make the point of, can you just say, don't say that anymore, because that's rubbish, and we all look through it and everyone just gets annoyed. Can you just say, we appreciate that this is a small step, but it is a bump in the maternity pay, and there's a lot longer journey to go. And do you know what? Women have been mistreated, like she said in the podcast, for decades in this profession, and there's a lot of them. It's very expensive, but we will turn it around. Like I was basically trying to say, people would rather hear that than the other version, which is rubbish.
It's all okay.
Yeah.
Did you notice, this is a perfect example of just not answering the question at all.
Okay.
When I did ask in that chat, I said, okay, so you're talking about this is the first step. And I said, what's your end goal then?
Yeah.
What's the first
you
step
cut in.
to?
You said, what is your end goal then?
Yeah, so you're talking about this end goal, you're talking about the next step, like, oh, that's what people want to hear. In my head, I'm like, we need deliverables then, don't we? In any other business, it wouldn't be acceptable to just be like, oh yeah,
we'll do it in the future.
We're moving in the right direction. Sorry, cut through this right now. What are we moving towards?
Yeah, the shareholders want to know.
Yeah, she didn't answer it. So like, you know, here's the thing. We're in the conversation. We're listening to the conversation. We have our opinions on it. People can agree or disagree, but that's what we felt in the conversation. I don't think she answered a lot of the questions. I do think she was listening, and I do think the answers she gave weren't, well, they obviously weren't stock answers because she didn't have the answers. She didn't have the questions in advance, and I do think she listened to some of what we were saying, right? However, the vast majority, like, of comments, if you look on Spotify comments, if you look on social media, are along the lines of, she didn't really answer the questions.
Yeah.
So it does like lead me to my ultimate point here, which is just, it went exactly as I thought it would go. And we had control over what we asked and how we asked it. And I'm quite proud of us for sticking to that and doing it. I even know, you won't mind me saying, you know, some of the questions you asked were pretty to the point, like on the bone about maternity, etc. And you even had moments where you were just like, oh God, I need to psych myself up for this.
Yeah. The maternity one, I nearly bottled it a little bit because, again, I didn't want to actually be rude to this human being, but I did want to hold her to account. And I was thinking very carefully about how I say, do you think it's acceptable that the women in this building get 26 pay and the teachers in our school don't? Like,
that's exactly what you said.
That's what the conclusion I came to. But in the moment, I was like, oh God, like, I didn't want to say it in genuinely such a horrible way that people online would actually then just be focused on the fact that I was just being a dick.
No.
Like, I wanted it to be, this is a very clear question. It's not even about me. This is just about
your partner, though.
This is, of course, but like, I didn't want people to focus on me and my question of, like, I wanted people to focus on her answer to that question. And I was really carefully trying to word that in the right way that wasn't too wishy-washy, but equally was quite combative. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, it was, you know,
But I think you can be those things and not. This is the education secretary. I'm not going to repeat ourselves one more time, but
you are.
Oh, but it was a bit rude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe at some points you might think it's rude if you were just having a talk with your mate in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But this is the, But overall, look, they reached out to us. I'm really glad we did it. I am so pleased that people feel happy about it. That was my main thing.
Yeah.
And, obviously, when there's about 10 days between filming and release, there were moments where I thought to myself, "Oh God, what did I say? What did I do? Were we pushovers? Were we too rude?"
Yeah.
I think it sounds, we don't like blowing our own trumpet. I think it was really good.
Yeah, I think we got it right in the middle. And clearly, it showed something we did actually predict. I think we were right about this. There is clearly an appetite for this in terms of not just speaking to anyone, but having questions asked that are a bit more combative, a bit more pushy. Okay, but you're not answering this. Yeah, but here's a really long-winded contextual question where I've already pre-thought of all of the silly stock answers that might come out of this. I'm going to put it all in my questions so you can't. Let's just cut to the point. And I think a lot of people were saying, we need more of this. We need more questions like this that just cut to the point. Whether we get the answers we want or not, we can't control that. But what we can control is how many of those questions get asked. So, invite us back, basically, because people clearly want to hear this sort of stuff and they want to listen to it. And
should we talk to
there's more room for it?
Prime Minister next?
Oh, I suppose. If we've got time.
Well, find time with me. Guys, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to follow this podcast wherever you're listening. Leave us a comment. Leave us a like. Leave us a share. Can you leave a share or do you do a share?
Oh, I don't know.
Do all those good things. And a rating goes so far for us. See you next.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Stitch Fix. Stop shopping, get styled.
A+ on the outfit, Miss Turner. You were about to slay parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, these? Just the most perfect fitting jeans my stylist sent me.
Oh, hello, you, who didn't set one foot in a mall and still looks amazing.
Just share your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. Stitch Fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
To my stylist.
This look is dedicated to you. Thank you. Thank you.